Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar. And before we get started today, if in 2022 you are looking for a consultant to help you either launch or to grow your business in coffee, head to the show notes and check out Mapper Forward's consulting services and let us help you in 2022 achieve the success that you're looking for. Our results are guaranteed, and if you're not happy, it's a 100% money back guarantee. Today on the podcast, we are talking about a Swapcast that's coming up that I'm incredibly excited about, and we are talking about some gratitude. So this will be the last episode that is just me on the Daily Coffee Pro for 2021. The next series of episodes that are coming up are going to be a swapcast with my very dear friend, colleague, and client, Sara Alali. Sara is the host of the Map It Forward Middle East podcast. She is also a dear friend of mine, but she's also, on top of that, a client of Map It Forward. And that's how our working relationship started. Sara was a one-on-one consulting client and a mastermind group member. And she has been for nearly a year and a half now. And as we moved through that process, it became obvious that she needed her own podcast. She's incredibly gritty and incredibly intelligent and articulate and comes with elegance and grace and is very respected in everything she does. But beyond that, Sara has an intention in business and in the coffee industry unlike anything I've ever seen before. And I am very fortunate to call her a friend of mine. And the Swapcast that we're going to be doing is going to go through the last, let's say, year of work that we've done together on her soon-to-open cafe called That. And it's going to be an exploration of what it takes to open a business, the way that businesses should be opened in the coffee industry. Now, Sara's not looking to just open another cafe. Sara is looking to open a cafe that will set the new standard for cafes in the Middle East. And I'm incredibly proud to play a tiny part of that, but I'm even more proud to be able to invite Sara to share with you her journey going from being a pop-up cafe owner to opening one of the most beautiful cafes in every way that I've ever seen. And so we're going to be going through a number of those things, from what it was like for her to choose staff and the process that she went through to do that, how it was defining culture and values, and going from not really understanding the basic infrastructures or the detailed infrastructures of reading financial statements and creating inventory lists and dealing with lawyers and accountants and all of that kind of stuff, to the very detailed kind of nuances and annoyances of dealing with governments and local municipalities to get permits approved and things like that. So the Swapcast is something for anybody who's thinking about opening a business. And I'm deeply, deeply grateful to have met Sara, first of all, and to get the absolute honor of working with her and guiding her and coaching her through this process is honestly one of the great pleasures of my entire professional life. And to now be able to call her a colleague as a Map It Forward podcast host is very humbling. So I hope that you enjoy the episodes that are coming up. Now, to extend out that gratitude even further, and this being the last episode that I'll do on my own for 2021, getting a little bit emotional here I am, I really need to say thank you to the people who have trusted me, whether it be through the podcast or through consulting, the people who have trusted me to kind of inject myself into their lives or their days a little bit through the podcast or through our consulting sessions. When people become consulting clients of Map It Forward, it's never really a 1 or 2 sessions thing. It's usually something that goes on for well over a year, and we meet at least twice a month, most of the time every week. And we become a part of each other's lives, and it is just deeply humbling to be a part of that. And when I hear from people who aren't clients, who I never hear from usually, but listen to this podcast and they contact me and say, I opened my cafe and I did everything that you told me to do, and now I'm so excited about opening my business and I'm confident that I'm going to be successful. I went and learned all the things that you told me to learn, and I questioned myself, and you can't pay for that feeling. You can't pay for the deeply humbling feeling that comes from hearing how this podcast affects people. And I'm deeply grateful for that, especially during a pandemic, and especially during, I was in lockdown all of 2020. I was in lockdown a lot of 2021. It's a lot of the time creating content for this podcast and for my other podcast, Love and Other Delusions, has brought me deep joy. Working with clients has brought me an incredible amount of joy at a time when isolation was a big part of my life for the last couple of years. And so I just really, really want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for an incredible year. I want to say thank you for the deep joy that you've brought me through your growth. To hear people say, you're the first voice I hear every morning. I get up every weekday and through my routine, I listen to this podcast. Man, that's a big deal to me. And I just wanted to say thank you. This is our 6th year doing this podcast. And there have been many listeners who have been with us that whole time. 20,000 people a month listen to this podcast. Now, that's not a lot for most people who have podcasts, but it's a lot for a coffee podcast. And so to our 20,000 unique listeners of this podcast, I just want to say a massive thank you. This isn't the last episode for 2021, but it is the last episode with just me for 2021. And so personally, I want to thank you, and I want to encourage you to keep going and to set the intention that while 2021 was a challenging year and probably one that you'll never forget, I want you to set the intention that 2022 will be your best year yet. And we will keep showing up for each other and in each other's lives, whether we know about it or not. And I hope that this podcast continues to be a source of clarity and integrity for you. And it continues to be a source of just straight talk, because that's what really means a lot to me. At a time when the world is moving in a direction where the relationship between information and truth that can be trusted is becoming more and more muddy, I hope that you find this podcast, at least in your professional life, a source of comfort and a source of value. So for the last time for 2021, me on my own, I wanted to wish you all the best and thank you for everything that you've given to this brand this year, and invite you to join us on Patreon next year and continue to support us however you can. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day.